In 1820,
the whaling ship Essex was conducting routine whaling operations in the Pacific Ocean. This 87-foot vessel carried 20 experienced whalers, accustomed to battling ocean giants. However, on this day, they encountered an unprecedented adversary. An 85-foot giant sperm whale suddenly appeared near the ship. Unlike previously hunted whales, this one displayed clear hostility. It didn't try to escape, but swam directly toward the Essex. The crew initially thought this was just an ordinary whale encounter, but what happened next was completely beyond their imagination. The giant whale struck the ship's hull with incredible speed and force. The first impact caused the entire ship to shake violently. The crew discovered in horror that the whale seemed to be attacking them deliberately. Even more terrifying, it didn't stop. The whale swam away, then accelerated again, toward the Essex. The second impact was even more violent than the first. The sturdy hull began cracking, seawater rushing madly into the cabin. The 20 crew members realized they were facing a life-or-death crisis. Within just minutes, the Essex began to sink. Crew hastily lowered 3 lifeboats, salvaging basic survival supplies. They watched helplessly as their home disappeared into the Pacific depths. At this moment, they didn't know the real ordeal was just beginning. 20 men were trapped in 3 small boats in the endless Pacific Ocean. They were thousands of miles from land, with supplies lasting only days. The captain tried to maintain morale, promising they would find rescue. But as time passed, hope began to fade. On the 8th day, the first crew member died from dehydration and malnutrition. Others gathered around his body, falling into prolonged silence. In civilized society, they would hold a decent funeral for the deceased. But on this desolate ocean, they faced an unimaginable choice. Hunger was like an invisible beast, slowly devouring everyone's sanity. They began discussing topics that would never be mentioned under normal circumstances. Someone quietly spoke that word, cannibalism. This word caused shock and heated debate among the survivors in the boats. On the 12th day, hunger conquered morality. Driven by desperation and survival instinct, survivors crossed civilization's final line. They formed a circle, prayed, then began their first act of cannibalism. Everyone knew what this meant, but the desire to survive had overcome everything. As time progressed, death became increasingly frequent. Each time someone died, the remaining survivors faced the same choice. Initially, they held simple rituals for the dead, trying to maintain human dignity. But hunger was a cruel teacher, gradually stripping away all moral restraints. By the 60th day, all naturally deceased bodies had been consumed. Remaining survivors faced a more horrific choice. They must actively select who dies. After agonizing discussion, they decided to draw lots to determine the next victim. This decision marked their transformation from passive cannibals to active killers. The lottery process was solemn and terrifying, each knowing it might be their last moment. Fate chose 17-year-old Owen Coffin. This young man was among the youngest crew members, his life barely begun. More tragically, the executor would be his own cousin, the captain himself. Facing this cruel reality, young Owen showed courage and dignity beyond his years. He calmly accepted his fate, even comforting those who were about to kill him. The captain's trembling hand raised the gun. Pulling the trigger ended a young life. Essex survivors carried unspeakable secrets, bearing psychological wounds that never heal.